Yeah. Yeah.
You don't be getting that Johnson and Johnson, dude. That shit'll be
No.
taken out.
Well, Alex got it.
He got the Johnson one?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think he got it like a couple days before they took it off the shelf.
Fuck. So, but
Test pig. But no, he's fine. Obviously, he's good.
sure.
I think the blood clots were what they were saying. Women that were taking like contraception,
No, I know. I mean, I'm
birth controls and stuff.
half joking, but also not because it's like, there's still people that took that shit thinking this is going to be a good thing and then they died, or
I
have
mean, yeah,
complications from it.
yeah. I'm not like I don't necessarily put my trust in mega mega corporations, that do everything they can to nickel and dime people out of their medicine, but you don't have much of a choice, I guess. I mean, I do want to see my parents, though.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I can't really travel or do much, it seems like, without these things. But at the same time, like, literally, I've asked people that have one or both shots. It's like, show me some verification that you have this shot. And it's just like, there's a piece of paper that's signed by somebody. Like, dude.
Yeah, signed by a doctor.
This is some bullshit, if you ask me. But, but like, how is that not just like on your phone? You now have this thing that you can only get if somebody like scans a QR code that you got the shot.
Yeah, how does that actually work? I don't, because I have
thing. They're telling people, oh,
my little card, and it has like. Say that again.
I mean, they're just saying like you have to have this thing basically do anything, as far as travel or anything like that goes. But
yeah. I mean, but is that, I don't know, is that actually true? Like, can you, I mean, if you're trying to go to like Australia or something, not that they're going to let you in anyways, even if you are vaccinated and you're an American, right? There's like certain things like, but yeah, I'm not sure how they're going to enforce that or impose that. I don't know how that's going to work. Because I feel like the big drive is like personal, right? Like you don't want to get yourself sick. You don't want to get someone else sick. Like, there's not like, a use in faking it. If you're going to go out and get coronavirus, it's like, well, joke's on you, man.
Right.
Because I had a coworker early on who had it. He had like the early strain and it was pretty strong and blue lips, purple lips, everything. And he says his body like smells different now. He says he's like repulsed by his own natural odor in a way that he never was before. Like, maybe you get, BO and you skate and you're sweaty, you smell bad, but it doesn't like make you throw up. And he says he's been like gagging at like the smell of his own body. Things have like things smell different, like things taste differently to him. So it's not like and he's, young guy, 28, 29, yeah. So that kind of shit, like, it's like, yeah, he might not die, but I don't want to like lose my, taste for bananas or something, or like, like smell like a foreign person.
Well, let's see. Like, my mom got it, and she hit it. I mean, she hit it hard. Like, I was freaking out, thinking like, this might be the end of my mom. Like,
Man.
I don't know.
How's she doing now?
She's recovered, but the same thing that you're saying. I don't know about the BO. She hasn't gone that into that much detail, but she's being like, yeah, the food and things don't smell the same. It's definitely like a real thing. And then on the other side, like I've heard a lot of like pretty people that I respect and are successful, smart, intelligent, educated people saying like, I don't know that this vaccine is really necessary. So it's hard to really understand what is the best information. And I think that's like part of why I was so stoked to like try to put this episode together. 'Cause like getting good information on the internet right now is difficult, or it can be like it's like a sifting process. But then like your experience, I guess, like in like meme culture, it's like, dude, sometimes those memes, even though it's like a joke meme, actually has like the really good message that just drives it home with a picture and it's like the perfect way to implant.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what memes are. They're complex ideas boiled down to their simplest form. And a good meme is something that, is tells a whole narrative, a complex story in, single image, something that you understand, something you don't understand, combining the two to like create something that you possibly can try to understand. And so like, I mean, jokes and, memeing about like the NFL or, the Super Bowl or skating, it's only so fun. But when you can like meme, and I say that to mean like, uh, make an image about someone, your own personal belief and share it with the world, that gets even more fun when it has real consequences, right? A coronavirus, a pandemic, something that actually, makes me move because, information these days is it's so beyond our like reason and beyond our understanding. So like, for example, the for me, the pandemic kind of hit early on because I am very online. Because I remember watching early on videos in China and being like, oh my God, like this is actually going to be really fucked. I remember I went into my office in Greenpoint and I was like, hey, everybody, you've been seeing these videos? Like they shut down a city of like 11 million people. Like you saw this? And everyone's like, yeah, I mean, it's China. It's like, no, that's not what like China wanted to do. So basically, long story short, it's like I had like my panic moment very early on. And so I was like pretty level headed when, the things ended up happening, the office got shut down, whatever. But there's so much bad information and so much incomplete information out there that it's hard to know what the truth is. And the truth is, I mean, coronavirus is never going away. There's no vaccine that can get rid of it. It is the new flu. It's our new disease. The flu will exist, maybe it'll try to catch up. But every year we're going to get coronavirus booster shots from now until I don't know, until people decide that they're bored of it. If that ever happens, I don't think it will. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had a guy who was my Uber driver the other day. He's like, yeah, I got my both shots, and they were like, keep the car. We might have to give you a third one. I'm like, what the fuck, man? This is,
Hmm.
wow.
Well, yeah, there's a really good article in the Atlantic talking about it early on, and the difference. They kind of use the metaphor of it's like stopping. It's like trying to stop the wind with like a net, right? You're just not going to be able to do anything. It's it's too endemic. It's going to evolve too quick, too fast. And I mean, I don't know. And this is where I obviously don't know enough. I can be reasoned myself, but to like say, what's going to happen, what are things going to look like? I mean, you look at Australia, you look at New Zealand. Uh, those places like shut down really early on, and they had like a lot of like protocols. A friend of mine moved back to Australia from New York, and the government put him up in a hotel for like 2 weeks free of charge. Like that's not going to happen in the U.S. Like, and so the government being able to like do what it takes to weed out the virus, actually, right? Like physically, to invest in, you know, whatever they need to do, like closing off the borders. I mean, Australia is kind of Australia and New Zealand are like cases because they're islands, um, but like the fact that they even tried, like we didn't try, so and because America didn't try, the rest of the world was kind of fucked
Right.
in that regard. Yeah, the U.S. being the country that it is, if there ever were a moment where we would use, our, uh, tyrannical power, it would be in a moment like that. We didn't do it. We just said, "Oh, yeah, whatever."
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because I have a friend from New Zealand, and she was in New Zealand when the pandemic was like starting. So she started to have some of like the New Zealand lockdown, and then
Hmm.
she realized that like if she wanted to be back in the United States, she needed to leave like right then. So she did, and then she came back here, and she's like mortified, like not leaving her room, like being hyper sensitive to the whole thing, just because it's like that's how everybody acted in New Zealand.
Yeah.
I'm almost like, I mean, we've seen this in Switzerland is the same way. In these countries that have smaller populations, also less, uh, let's see, what's the word? It's like a less, it's a more like specific demographic of people that live there.
Yeah, more homogeneous, right? There's, everyone is, more or less. If you're, I think the, demographics in Australia, they're different than they are in, some of Europe or the United States for sure. Um, but I think also there's this like there's like a sense of communal goodness that is lacking in the United States. So like it's hard to
Yeah.
tell someone why they should do something if they don't understand what it means to take care of their neighbor, right? It's like the whole mask thing is so funny to me. The preface of when people say, "Don't tell me to wear a mask because you're, infringing on my rights." Well, what they've told you is they don't understand why they're being asked to wear a mask. They're not being asked to wear a mask for themselves. The reason they're wearing a mask is for their neighbor and
Right.
for the old lady that lives down the street. So what they've told you is not only do they don't understand what's going on, but they don't even value, or they haven't begun to value, their community around them. And that's the thing that the Americans don't have. We're very individual. It's all about me. It's all about what I can do. And so if you look at a place like Sweden or Australia or New Zealand, sure, these Western, countries, there is a social cohesion. I mean, look at China specifically. The government is very, it's different, but you can't necessarily, I think if you were to really boil it down, say it's better or worse because of the outcome, right? If you're going to use a tool, a boot to like, smash something, you can also use a boot to like wear it and like get you somewhere. And so like there like this, it's like what is personal freedom and what does it mean to, sacrifice? And that's something that Americans are not like good at being
And
aware of, or also like wanting to invest in, I think.
there's definitely the sense of individualism. I've struggled with that. I mean, I've been trained to be like, get money. It's all
Yeah.
for you. Have
Hmm.
field day. Good luck, kid. And it's like
Yeah.
that breeds this sense of like, okay, there's a situation here. How do we maximize this for gain? Because most people don't trust the government in this country.
No, nor should they. I mean, the government is, a collection of people, obviously, it's not this like, you know, sl- it's not some like eight-armed octopus that like, floats in the sky. It's, individuals. It's comprised of us. So it's a hard thing to like nail down, right? And say, this is the cause, this is the problem. At least in this country, anyways.
No, I agree. I mean, it's funny because it's like a lot of my family works for the government, and I think a lot of them are just doing they're just doing their gig, the day to day. They're not fucking doctors. They're not like therapists. They're like playing this big game, and they're just a little piece in it. So it's like I have a lot of respect for people that do public service and things like that, just because I know some of the guys out there doing it. But at the same time, it's like it's just a dude out there doing it. I'm not saying that he's going to be your friend while he's doing his job. Like, you don't know. You don't know. Maybe that person's having a bad day. Like,
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't.
know.
I don't even having family as in like the police force. I don't like it when a cop stops me. I mean, I've learned to be a lot more civil and be like, hey, okay, here's my name, here's all the information you want. Also, my family works in the same law enforcement division. Like, I know my
Well,
rights. But it
yeah, I
feels
mean,
weird.
you've even kind of said it there. That, this identity of even within the greater community, we all have our own in group, and so like a cop, your family's a firefighter, right? You're gonna put the sticker on your car to identify yourself, to say, hey, like I'm in, and we kind of like I don't know. It's like we understand things that we understand, and so like we maybe accept their dark edges a little more because we are more familiar with them. But with things that we don't understand, it's harder to accept that thing that lies on the edge of it that may not be as clear, right? And so if it's the possibility that the government's lying to you, well then, if that's where you're starting, you're not gonna get anywhere. Ultimately, it's gonna lead you to some conclusion. You're gonna find out a lot of cool shit and a lot of stuff that makes you go, "Wow, yeah, this is really fucked up." But at the end of the day, you, an individual, what are you gonna do? I mean, you can share the information with your fellow individuals and go, "Hey guys, look, this is fucked up. Let's do something about it." Uh, but we've lost our own action. I mean, just as individuals, right? It's like, and it's not because like we don't have agency. It's just that we don't know what proper agency like means anymore. And that's a product of the internet and us getting I mean, people were getting more isolated before the pandemic, just naturally. The world, as open as it was, men, you know, being more single, people just kind of living online and kind of building their own identities, that getting exacerbated by a pandemic of, being forced to stay at home. I mean, as someone who's been working the past year, I can say how difficult it is to work from home. Ultimately, it seems like it's nice, it's comfortable. I mean, it is, but at the same time, it's like I don't work from home. I live at work. Like that's not fun either.
Right.
So, uh, but then again, it's like I don't know what it's like to be stuck at home like without a job, and to what that must feel like also. So it's everyone, if you're busy, you're probably stressed out. If you're bored, you're probably stressed out. It's like, is anyone actually getting through this pandemic all right, unless you're like a Doge holder or something?
Oh man. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah. That's a good way to put it. Is anybody doing all right? Because you said it earlier in the show. It's like you got the effects like really right in the beginning, and like I remember in the beginning of the pandemic, like I had just moved to this amazing retreat center. I was surrounded by like 200, 300 acres of all these beautiful woods and waterfalls to go explore in, and then you know they didn't lay us off right away. They're like, y'all can just stay here. And then we got all this unemployment money, which totaled to be like, I think I just did the taxes today with somebody. It was like $16,000 that I got just to just chill. And then like, as that stimulus started to run out, and they started laying other people off, and I had to move and like get back out in the world during a pandemic, like,
Yeah.
fuck, dude, like it didn't really hit me until like I'd say the beginning of the year until now. I've been like
Hmm.
just going through it, dude, like stress, and then like picking up on like literally kind of being a sensitive man in this world is weird, because it's like now I'm picking up on all these energies from people coming up and out of the city. They're just changing up how they're living. They're coming
Hmm.
up here trying to figure it out. I mean, it seems like now that the vaccine is going around and that people are hiring and there's like businesses starting to pop up here in Woodstock again, I'm like, okay, there might be some sort of summer. It
Hmm.
has me like
Hmm.
feeling a little bit optimistic, but still, like, I think the pandemic affected everybody in a deep way, whether it was early on, in the middle, or even right now. I think people are
Hmm.
definitely still going through it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no like, we all can experience, the same things and be affected by them completely different ways. So yeah, that's a good point to make. It's like maybe you got it early on, maybe you got it in the middle, or maybe you're having it now, but no one's getting out of it the same person they were. I
Right.
don't think at all. No. And that's something that I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what people decide to do once they really are, you know, mentally in control of their lives again. It's not because not to say that you aren't. I mean, obviously there is like there's a risk in everything. Like, I can, in New York, for example, in Brooklyn, they opened up indoor dining over summer or something, or like in fall. Uh, and there's a risk to going and doing that, but like I also like want to go and like get a beer and have a shot somewhere and like have a meal. So like I'm gonna take that risk. I'm gonna and like that's all we can do is like choose our risks. Uh, but yeah, it's I don't know the way that people react to that, because once you feel like that barrier is gone, right? Like you're vaccinated, you're not worried about getting the virus if that's what it is, or if it's opportunities. Like you can maybe approach them differently than you would have before the pandemic. Maybe not on purpose, but just because of what you've gone through. I don't know. Maybe people will realize like, oh, it's not worth like trying to go and live that life. Like maybe the valuable thing is, being healthy and happy, right? Like maybe people really do have this revitalization. Or on the other hand, they don't at all. And they go, God, I'm so pent up and I'm so frustrated. I just want to like fuck and fight. And like, that's all I want to do. So I think we're going to see a little bit of both. I think a lot of people are going to be fucking and fighting. A lot of people are just going to be like, relaxing and like reading, There's going to be like the two. I'm the latter crowd. All I do is read books and play video games and, and relax. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't really been doing much fucking here in this pandemic, so
Yeah. That's going to be the new world. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, honestly, so I actually moved in with my girlfriend during the pandemic, which I know is probably crazy because we met right before everything went to shit, uh, and just like really hit it off. And so like personally, just the last year, my life has personally just improved, which is uh, it's a struggle that I've always felt. I think in my life, feeling why do I deserve the things I get? Why do I what's special about me? Uh, whether it's in writing or in work or in friendships or whatever. I'm sure you can attest. You've been laying in a river somewhere and looking at the trees, just like, man, what did I do to deserve this? Uh, Only maybe a feeling that is exacerbated in the last year, just because it's like, well, like how do I help? How do I have this? And that's really what it comes down to. It's you can't dwell too long. You have to act. You have to say, hey, like I've been given this opportunity to be who I am, to be comfortable. I have to make sure that I afford that to others and pass it on and do what I can to in any way and however I can. I don't know. The act of social good in the world. Maybe we'll see a rejuvenation of that once people get back together.
I think so. I mean, I really believe that. I think people are so hungry right now to connect that there's going to be no way, there's going to be not really much room to be rude to anybody else and just be respectful and be like, "Hey, it's good to see you. Let's hang out. Good thing we're doing a barbecue instead of,
Yeah.
on the internet or whatever."
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like,
But it's still right. People pent up, at home all year. They get together. It's like, hey, well, like I haven't seen anybody. you know.
yeah, I'm trying to eat right
Yeah, look at me, man. Yeah,
now.
yeah.
But all right, we jumped into the pandemic, political topics. We're gonna
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
going at it.
yeah.
This is the Peter Rapine episode. Season 2. This is season 2 of Pirate Utopia. This is the
Oh
Rockstar
shit.
edition.
Oh damn.
And I say rockstar meaning like you don't gotta be a music maker, but as long as you're a rump shaker, you're doing something, you're a room maker, you're making waves.
Mm.
So I don't know, like is before we dive back into that, like what's some basic information on Peter Rapine? Like where were you born
Oh
and
man.
how old
Yeah.
are you? Where does this whole thing start? Because
Okay.
we're gonna have to reel it back a little bit.
Yeah. No, I was waiting for you to do this. Peter, I am 30 years old. Currently, I live in Brooklyn. I was born on the East Coast, grew up in the Bay Area in California. I wanted to be a pitcher when I was, from the age of 7, I think until the age of 14. That was my dream, to be a Major League Baseball pitcher. My favorite movie was Rookie of the Year. That shit was so tight to me.
Give him the stinky cheese.
Yeah, yeah. And then, gosh, I think but I didn't do that. I became a writer. I work at eBaum's World, one of the internet's oldest and still thriving websites. Not to flex too much, but we're older than Facebook. And so fuck you. And I think we might actually be a couple months older than YouTube, where we're actually currently having this conversation. So,
Wow.
yeah. So eBaum's World obviously it is what it is. And yeah, moved out to San Francisco for college, and one thing led to another. Ended up getting an internship at eBaum's World one summer after I graduated. Worked my ass off. They hired me on full time, and that was in 2015. And I worked in San Francisco with them for a number of years. Eventually moved to Brooklyn, actually New York, and then Brooklyn. And then I quit for a while, took some time off, did some own writing projects, wrote a novel, wrote some short stories. Just kind of, it was funny. I had it's like I knew the pandemic was coming, so I decided to quit my job and have a year of leisure, and then go back and get my job back and move back to New York. I was living in New York, long story short, living in New York and just feeling run down, exhausted, just not really sure what I was doing. I felt like my writing was suffering and just wanted to be creative, what everyone wants to do. And so I quit and I moved and just wrote and lived in the Bay Area for a while. And then eventually I came back and yeah, I'm now my new goal or my new venture is gaming. I'm in charge of our gaming content at Evolves World. So the last couple of months, I've been put in charge of building a team of freelancers and mostly just trying to understand video games. I mean, I grew up with them, but I don't have like that technical knowledge yet, or like that cultural understanding that I think is lacking. Because games are fucking huge, dude. It's like it's like you can't even say like the word gamer. It doesn't mean anything anymore. It's like saying the word reader. It's like there's billions of people that know how to read that read books. Like you can't put them in a box. There's not just like, there's sci-fi, there's this, there's that. It's like gaming. It really is this entire like monolith of culture and technology and lore and yeah. So that's like the short on me. Yeah, I guess. That makes sense.
Yeah. No, that was awesome. So you were born on the East Coast. You moved back to you moved out to California as a kid,
Yeah.
and then you and I crossed paths. I mean, as so many great human beings have at that little stupid skate park in Pleasanton, California.
I know. I know. Yeah, it feels odd, giving a short synopsis without referencing FGO.
No, yeah, but I mean, like that was just like to me when I think about our connection, like skateboarding was like just like it wasn't necessarily that like you and I were like the biggest skaters in the town or anything, but it's just like that was always a present thing. Like I can always remember going to the bar with you on our boards, or we're gonna go get Mexican food here on the board, or and like the other
Yeah.
thing that I was always like, Peter's like real philosophical, like more than like the regular FGO stoner kid. Literally, like thinking, you're writing, you're into all these different films, like you're into different hip hop, and then not only are you into hip hop, you're like, oh, and here's the backstory of this Lil Wayne album. Like, there's just always been this part of you that I really admired that seemed to be really into doing research online. And like I myself, I spent hours a day on 4chan just scouring for information. I mean, it's basically for just crypto, but at the same time, like I know what it takes to put out that type of net to like scoop up some of the like get some of the cream out of the ocean of what the internet is. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of dedication, regularly checking these message boards, and I feel like I don't know, for one reason or the next, you have that same flip in your brain where you're like, I'm down to just skim. And dude, like
Yeah.
I did some skimming today and I got $1,500 on an airdrop just because I went on 4chan and was like, shit, good thing I saw that post, you know?
What's an airdrop? I don't even know what that is.
Uh,
See,
it,
I've had to like tone my attention down because like crypto, I will say is like something that I've been like too afraid to like dive fully in because I know like once I do, like everything else in my life will just like stay up here and I'll be like all the way down here. Like living in the underground world where like everything I'm supposed to be doing is, you know, unattainable. Yeah. Like because it is like you say, like, part of it is, I think I just have a natural like hunger for information. I want to know stuff. I want to, I like telling people stuff also. I like taking a bit of information, understanding it and going, hey, you're going to really like this. Like for me, that's really cool to see like someone's face and go like, oh yeah. Like, the power of knowledge. I don't know. I've always loved that. But what were you saying? So this skim drop?
to get an airdrop, you mean?
Yeah. Airdrop.
Okay, so I mean, please, anybody that's listening to this is not any way to like pitch crypto or get anybody
Oh,
into
okay.
this or anything like like people are now they're hit. I've actually my phone is basically on airplane mode all the time now because like people know that I've had some success in Bitcoin, but
Mm-hmm.
literally like I can't express enough. It's like the success in it is because I've been in it long, like it's because I've been in it for at least 4 years, and not only 4 years. I've been in it for since 2013. But
Mm-hmm.
like if you're not in it for a full cycle of it, like you're just like sure you might have some like little quick little come ups and stuff, but like
Hmm.
that's the main thing is like putting in some money kind of just forgetting about it for 4 years and then being like, holy fuck, that's 10 times what it was when I put it in. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it takes you to kind of set it and forget it a little bit. But so basically, right now, people are airdropping a lot of different coins. To like, so you'll have like a new platform that comes on. So like, let's say there's like the next like eBombs world, right? But it's crypto based, and every single like on eBombs world is gonna get you like 50 cents. And so like, how are they gonna pay you in that 50 cents? Like, they're not gonna give it to you in US dollars. They're gonna give it to you in a token.
Mhm.
And then so just by you saying like, hey, I'll use this new eBombs world thing, I'll even pay money to use it. And you just click around, and then occasionally people will circle back and they'll take a screenshot of the people on the ledger who, like, all of the wallet addresses will be on the ledger. You can screenshot everybody who's started to use your platform, and then a lot of times they'll reward those people,
Mhm.
right? So like, if you have like a poppin' video channel on YouTube right now, like, no matter how many likes you get individually, you're never going to get paid until you get a sponsorship or you
Yeah.
sell it out to somebody else.
Hmm. Hmm.
So this is more like, hey, we realize that we're the ones
Yeah.
building the YouTube algorithm, right? So we want to get paid. So basically,
No. Yeah. It makes
people will
total
airdrop
sense.
you people will airdrop you things in the future for using their platform early in crypto. And like,
Ah.
I don't hold any Doji coin or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, everything that I do now in the space is kind of like skateboarding. Like, it's 100% calculated risk, and I've
Hmm.
generated enough capital now where it's like I'd rather minimize my risk for losing any of this and just kick back on the interest.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's smart, right? That's like that. You're not going to go broke thinking that way, right?
I mean, I went
Over.
broke in the last bull run, so shoot, I'm gonna try to do the opposite this one.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I try to go after like the moon shots and shit. Like, it's tempting.
Yeah.
It's tempting.
I
Especially,
know. And yeah. See, that's why I've liked it personally. Just scares me.
I mean, dude, okay, so like, for example, last bull run, I think I took like $700 and made it into like 5 grand. That was ecstatic. I couldn't believe it. And then what did
Yeah.
I do with that 5 grand? Like, I stupidly put it into some coin that like I didn't really know. People were
Hmm.
picking it up on the internet, and it got rug pulled under me.
Yeah.
And now it's like, we were running some numbers yesterday, and like one of my pools is down like $18,000 right now. But it's like, I'm so confident in the return in that in the next 6 months that it's like fine. But that type
Genuine.
of like confidence and sitting in this financial game takes time to learn.
Yeah. No.
Like,
Of
the reason
course.
that I
Yeah.
lost so much last time was because I panic sold. Like, I could have just kept all those coins and I would have been fine by now. But
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Crypto. I mean, it's. I did hear about something interesting this past week. It's called Zed Run. Have you heard of this? It's like it's a
what?
horse. It looks sick, dude. And like, well, at least as like a way where, at least as far as like making like an NFT that is usable and tradable and like purposeful, right? Like video game assets, I think is the future for like, some of the like crypto assets, maybe not crypto assets, but like creating an exchange where people are actually buying and selling digital assets that are valuable because you can race them, right? Earn money, right? Like that will only get better. And there will be like jockeys that like work in the game if it gets good enough, right? Like that kind of infrastructure, I think, is the future of the internet. And so, it's hard to like, look at, a Homer Simpson Pepe drawing being sold for $200,000 and go, oh, well, this is cool. I mean, you kind of go, wait, this doesn't make any fucking sense. Why is anyone doing this? Uh, I think we will see some like cool projects like this that, if they have cool tech and like make, are interesting, and like imagine going to a digital horse race. I think that would be interesting. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk too much about it. I've like skimmed
Yeah.
on Zed's platform. Like, it looks cool. I've seen Crypto Kitties. Like, it's a similar thing. You can
Yeah.
fight little Digimons basically and gamble for crypto over it. But it's like, to
Yeah.
me, that is like just not the point of NFTs, really. Like,
Sure.
point of an NFT to me is like if you went to go see the Mona Lisa painting in France
Hmm.
and everybody's crowded around, they're taking pictures and shit. Like y'all don't realize that no one actually knows if that's the real Mona Lisa or not. That's the fucking problem here.
Yeah,
No,
but
no
does it
one.
matter?
Ah, okay. If you start NFTing things, that NFT, that NFT serves as the receipt. So now, if you
Hmm.
can show me the receipt on some of these things, I'll believe you that you actually own a real thing. You'll own
Yeah.
a verified, trusted thing, not by just you telling me that it's real, by
I,
all these other people in the blockchain saying, yep, no, it's verified. Look, we know this wallet produced it on this day, and it's verified.
mhm. I
Like,
mean,
understand how many fake Jordans, fake Gucci bags, fake everything is out there, dude. People in Asia are
mhm.
literally sitting there producing. You can't tell the difference between these replicas.
So are they replicas? I mean, that's an interesting point. I think I think realness is it's in the eye of the beholder, obviously. Like if you go and you see the Mona Lisa and you love it, you say you see it and you're like, wow, that touches me. And you walk out of the museum and someone goes, hey, Jesse, actually, that wasn't the real Mona Lisa. Would your experience be tainted? Even though you had just seen it and you had had a good experience, right? We put this idea of realness up on this pedestal when I think it doesn't actually exist. Like, and maybe I'll get hate for this, or people can obviously disagree, but it's less so what the art is and more so what I take away from it. That is the point, right? Like,
No,
so
for sure, for sure. But we're talking about like we're also talking about collectors
sure,
here, and then
yeah,
take it to like the resale value, right? So like let's say you wanted to buy the actual Mona Lisa to potentially put it as an investment.
yeah.
Like you're that next collector is gonna be like, dude, I better get the receipt for that.
Well, yeah, I no, of course.
And the
When I
second thing
brought
about
it,
that is like so some of the what was his name Basquiat paintings, they're going for like $100 million now. Like none of those resell paintings ever kick back to the Basquiat Foundation. But if you
mm,
write the NFT contract that say, hey, every single time this resells, we get 30% of the original value kicked back. I mean, that's just more NFTs and all of these things in crypto are just giving more people flexibility with their finances.
yeah, no, and yeah, I'm not dumping on NFTs necessarily. I just think like a digital space, like a game, you'll see maybe more like widely adopted usage. Because I mean, who's buying and selling the Mona Lisa, right? Like art dealing as it is. I mean, it's a very fickle, controlled world, and so like, just because. I mean, have you talked to? This is a whole other conversation. I don't want to derail us.
No, I
Uh,
mean, like, Matt, okay, so
because I'm sure you've talked to John, right? Like things are crazy, huh?
John Knox.
Or Crane.
Oh, I mean, I've tried to talk to him, but he's the same way as me, dude. He won't even answer his phone anymore.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Like,
Yeah.
up like crazy.
He's like, no, yeah, I can't. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, but like, so okay, so let's just say like the newest, like there's this new whatever, like the new Jay-Z album comes out, right?
Mhm.
And it's like everybody's gonna be able to hear the Jay-Z album on YouTube for free. He wants you to hear it, but he only dropped 100 NFTs of that album, and he sold them for whatever, $100 each. Now, 5 years from now, people would probably pay you 10, 20 times for that NFT because they're become a real collector. Just like when you buy Jordans at the drop, and then you sell it
Yeah,
for 10 times that. Like, this is just giving the collectors more flexibility with what they want to do with their collection.
of course. Yeah, I mean, it's like a digital trading card. Yeah. If I had known Pokemon was going to be so popular, man, I would have kept all my cards because I had like
Me too.
a nice book. I have no idea where they are. Probably just I'll just throw those away. Uh
I've heard basketball and baseball trading cards are like back in hot right now.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, the NBA has their Top Shot. They're like it's NBA stamped and approved, and like I think Mark Cuban is one of the investors.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant too, or someone. Yeah. It's, I don't know. It's just like, it's obviously we're in like new world territory, or like, new usage territory. It's just, things, things really do. They don't like, I don't know. They change slow and they change fast in like an odd way. Like it seems like things happen fast while they're happening slow, and happening slow while they're happening fast. It's like our perceptions of like, you know, what we perceive we're doing versus what we think everyone else is doing isn't always, connected. And so like we can think maybe there's more people, doing the thing that I'm doing than there actually are doing that. Uh, it's, I always think about like as far as like a technology thing, like the cloud had been around like quite a lot longer than most people realize before it really became the product that it is. Like companies just created it, like, oh, there's a lot of like, space, digital space that we can like house information on in this cloud. What do we do with it? And then Salesforce is like, well, no, we'll just turn it into like a business. It's like these technologies that are around, 10 years later can be used for different reasons. So personally, as like a, philosophy, trying to look at the space of crypto and the space of, digital art and assets in the new world, it's like my fear is that I'm not going to be understanding exactly what I'm trying to understand, or I might misunderstand what I think I know or don't know. Right? It's like having that false belief. And I actually heard a friend of mine say it recently. It's like the people that are going to make the most money aren't going to think about it. They're just going to buy it and they're just going to fucking forget about it and they're just going to hold. And those are the people that are going to make the most money. If you're thinking, oh, what's this? This is that. I need to do this. I need to. It's like, no, you've already lost.
Yep.
And so that's kind of this like mindset, which might not be as big as of a group of people. Most people are, risk assessors. We assess everything we do. We're not going to throw our money in this thing because we're guaranteed something. We've all lost shit. We all know what it's like. So I don't know. It's like, it's just fascinating. I really am at a loss. I feel like I'm an alien on like a foreign planet. I'm like, like, okay, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, I like the, I, last thing I'll say about it is, it's like the mind of, like a finance bro with like the heart of like an evangelical Christian. It's like this dual mentality, like passion, belief, but also you're like, willing and following your, your logical thought, which like, there's goodness in both those things. I think they're tropes because, finance people and, maybe people who are more, evangelical and like blind believers, are, like to be seen as like outliers by people. It's like, oh, wow, they're like, these kind of stark ends of like, the paradigm. It's just interesting. Crypto in the new world is so, I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
dude, if you thinking you want to get into it to like get rich quick, I'd probably
Yeah.
stay away for a little while. But I mean,
Because it,
dude,
because
I
if it,
remember watching some friends like 4 or 5 years ago, like doing 10x, 15, 20x on some of their initial investments. So I was like, that's just a knucklehead dude at a state school that just came up 50 grand. Like, I know I can do that. And then like now that I've gotten so into it where that's happened to me like a couple times, 3, 4 different times that I've been able to 10x and I feel good about that. But at the same time, it's like I've now moved into this thing where it's like, don't try to profit off me, like people do hit me up now and they literally consult me and pay me an ETH for my crypto consultations, which is rad. It's super rad. Um,
that's awesome.
but at the same time, I always just try to like be really like, hey, here's all the information that I know. You're paying for my time. I'm happy to give you everything that I know, and I assess people's situation differently. Like the my biggest client right now, we just do the exact same thing, and none of our money's ever at risk. And just by us staking it on this one particular platform, like he's getting, I don't know, 100 bucks a day just by staking his savings there, and it's not in Bitcoin. It's tethered to the US dollar. and it's
Mhm.
by putting it there, it's generating enough capital so that this other algorithm can trade on their behalf and work kind of like an ETF.
Interesting.
So,
Yeah, you're like a small bank.
oh yeah, no, we've basically both of us now we're operating as individual banks, right? And
Hmm.
it's kind of the whole point of this, where it's like
Yeah.
to get everybody to turn themselves into their own bank gives you a lot more flexibility. You can be a dumbass bank and like spend however you want, but at the same time, you could also be like, hey, this is what smart, successful banks do, and what they do is they try to just live on those little fees. Like they keep their stake really high, and the higher your stake is, the more your fees are going to get daily fed back to you. And it's like if your style of life is $100 a day, sweet, style it out. Let's do it.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you're good. But like it's moved into for me, it's moved like more into like a political move because it's like I had a lot of friends just hitting me up for like, what's the next moonshot? I want to make another $10,000, you know? So I've kind of dumped that and just moved into being like, I just only want to speak about crypto if it's like in educational purposes, if it's especially
Mm.
on social media or online.
Yeah.
And then also, secondly, to say like, hey, I mean, it's great that we've been able to get some pandemic money and all of these things, but like understand that this is like we're all connected, right? Like we're literally all physically connected. Every single human on Earth, the physical Earth beneath our feet, the chairs that we're sitting in, the computers that we're talking to each other on, we're connected to. There's literally no way that they can separate this in quantum physics, right?
Mm.
So it's like the fact that we're all just like printing all this money with no receipt is causing somebody else in the fabric to be at they'll have less and it's going to
Mm.
cause them suffering.
You
So it's
think
like,
so? That's interesting.
oh, 100%. I mean, that's why so many people on planet Earth hate Americans cuz like we just walk around on the planet
Yeah. Yeah.
here and we demand we have to have toilet papers in these bathrooms when we're overseas. It's like, you know, a lot of the world doesn't live like Americans do.
Oh no, of course. I mean, what we're fraction of the world's population that we consume. Quarter of the world's any. You know, every given resource.
Yeah.
Yeah. We eat more meat. We wear more clothes. We drive more cars. Yeah.
So kind of like what you were saying about the vaccine in the beginning, it's like I strive and I've like really failed like landed on my face lately like in the pandemic saying, "Hey, you got to put your money on a blockchain." And then people are like, "Oh, they're very hesitant and stuff like that." And I'm serious, like, "No, this is more important than voting for the president." Like
Mm.
seriously, this makes a huge difference. And they're like, "Well, where are you getting this information?" And it's like, you know, it's become to me like there's all those people that are out there picketing for all their different movements and I believe in a lot of them, but I really hesitate to like jump into some sort of like protest where I'm like I don't actually like I agree with Black Lives Matter, like I think that's rad, but I don't want to show up there being like, oh, I'm your ally, or I can actually relate, like I can relate to people that I can relate to, you know, and I know when I can't relate to somebody too. And this is where I'm like, hey, this is a really big deal that we get off of centralized programming and into decentralized programming. So like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of those are centralized platforms, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
And crypto gives us the opportunity to say, hey, we want to choose something that's decentralized, meaning that like whatever
Well, I mean,
we
it
like.
sounds like these two identities, have a lot in common actually, which
Yeah.
is interesting. It's I think that's the big flaw that we have in the world today is, we put up so much and we frame our identities in ways that uh, are that, right? Like your identity is only so much. It's not supposed to be ultimately in like a healthy, community, the thing that defines you, right? It's what you do that defines you, right? Like who you are is one thing, and hopefully it's, and in a healthy household, right? Who you are, a son, a daughter, a mother, father, whatever, it isn't held against you, right? You're not, insulted because you're the youngest, or you're not made to feel blame because you're the oldest, right? Like you're like, it's what you do in those roles. So like to say, like to branch those, to be an olive branch there, it's like the the social justice behind, movements like Black Lives Matter, and the the desire to, remove banking and, our tether from central institutions are inherently the same cause. Uh, so it's about finding a message in a way to, highlight those narratives, right? Like, I mean, these central banks, like, you can literally invest your money in like for-profit prisons. Like on Wall Street, you can go and like put your money in companies that like, are prisons that like make money when people get put in them, which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, right. It's action is always trying to find a thing that right moves the world and makes the world wider and doesn't close it in. You're always trying to find a way to say, hey, how can I blend and be a part of something that might be different than me? How can I add to that, or how can that add to me? And that is saying, here's something you don't understand, and packaging it and telling people, helping them understand it, because they're not going to, change if they don't, they're not going to put their money where they should, or, do it. I don't know, get along. If we don't know why if we don't know why we're doing the things that we're doing, is what I'm trying to say. So, that's interesting. I mean, that sounds like a good message. That like, that's a. I mean, how are you going about that? I like that you're saying like, you don't want to give people false hope and say like, oh, I'm going to be able to 10x you or do this or do that, and like focus on like, giving people useful information to make reasoned decisions, because you're going to serve them in the long run. Because you don't want to promise those things because it might not happen.
Yeah.
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 And also, yeah.
10xing, like this morning, getting that airdrop was rad. Like I would have been jumping up and down last summer for that amount, but now I'm just like, all right, this is just part of it, like it's not as great as it seems, while it's happening to you, because a lot of times I'll tell people, hey, this is the next 10x, or at least this is what I'm doing, and then they'll be like, yeah, well, I saw on my Facebook group that this is the next 10x, so they don't buy what I did, and then they just watch it, and then they'll see somebody on TikTok with like the chart spiking at the top. It's like, no one on TikTok ever, points it at when the chart's at the bottom. They're always posted after it spikes. So it's like that. No one believes you when there's a dying chart to buy that. But like, we can keep going on finance stuff if you want. Like,
No, I don't know too much about finance.
well, okay, so maybe this takes us to our next point. Like, something that I've been like kind of like kicking around in my head lately is like, I think a lot of times as humans, especially like being Americans and stuff, there's like these like you're supposed to dream really big, or like you said you wanted to be a baseball pitcher, and like as a child I wanted to be exactly like Jerry Rice. Like I wanted to be a wide receiver for the SF 49ers, and it's like, try as I might, as much football as I played, as many times as I even played wide receiver, it was just like, dude, you're probably, no offense, not cut out for the NFL. Like, that's fine. You could be a great wide receiver in your own league, But then, like, I had this other realization. It was like, well, okay, that's what Jesse wanted to be in this body, which is like, that's fine. That's your ego's trip. But then, like, God made, or, whatever you want to call it, spirit, universe, karma, generated this body for this other perfect thing, where it's like, almost, I don't have to try very hard at it, and I'm really good at it. And it's like, no one ever cares about that thing about themselves, So like, I'm wondering, because like for one of them, for me, it's like painting. I really wanted to be a recognized painter. I love painting. I could paint for hours. But like, the more I like zoom out of it, it's like, there's people out there that just paint and they don't give a fuck about painting, and they're way better at it than I am. You know what I mean? So it's like, how do you feel that like your human design, if you will, by higher consciousness has like put you into this space? Do you think that like writing is something where it's like that comes natural to you, that's a gift, and that's not necessarily what you wanted, but it's like you recognize it now? Or
Yeah, no, I mean, that's funny. Well, yeah, I had a moment. How do I say it? It's a dual thing. I think writing is only part of it. I think writing is something that limits me, and maybe I think I've had like taken away from me because I've been making it like this prideful thing. I think writing is only one aspect of what I am. I think like my natural, if I were to say like, you know, given talent, would it be like teaching, ultimately. And that's something that I think when I think about it, it's like, yeah, I could be a teacher. You know, I teach history at like, you know, community college or something, you know. Just because, you know, I've had great experiences being in classrooms and had teachers, you know, reach me and teach me things and help me grow. But not necessarily like a teacher in like, you know, the traditional role, but like someone who's always strived to just like, you know, help people understand stuff and grow and like, you know. But there is a moment where I think I was pretty young where I realized life wasn't just like, it was a mix of having a given talent, but also being in the right place at the right time and finding that luck, that thing that you can't control. Because life is, you know, it's that like common phrase is like what, 80% hard work, 20% luck. Well, it's 20% luck, it's 20% hard work, 80% luck. Because a lot of hard work and talented people, not all of them are lucky. And in fifth grade in DARE, we had to write this essay about why we're not going to do drugs, which I wrote and ended up presenting my speech at the end of the DARE program in front of an auditorium of like 4 schools. It was like my middle school and like 2 other middle schools, just like the packed auditorium at the Amador Theater. Like, and I remember the weeks leading up to it, I was just like petrified, knowing that I had to speak, that I had to read my speech, and I like laid in bed at night every night, just like frozen, just like, how am I going to do that? Like, and I was and also like an identity thing. Like I was born in Pennsylvania, but grew up in California, and I had like a speech impediment or like a lisp when I was a little kid. Like I couldn't say red or world or like even my last name, Rapine. Like it was Peter Waypine. And so this was like, you know, I would get teased. And so having to speak in front of people, again, was also a big thing. But I later learned that the way that the essays were selected was the teachers of our 4 classes chose 4 essays per class and then shared those essays with another class. And that class read those 4 essays and chose one of those 4. So my essay was taken from my class and given to another class. Well, in the other class, my best friend was asked to read my essay. And so when he went back down, he told all of our friends in the class to vote for mine. And so they rigged it in favor of me. So I knew this, and they told me this, and I was like, oh, what do you mean? Like, I'm not the best writer? Like, I thought my essay was the best. And they're like, oh, no, we cheated. But I realized, I was like, wait, no. I was still in the top 4, you know, like 4 were selected. So I think I learned early on, it's like, right, hard work only gets you there. The world is gonna tell you what you're gonna do afterwards. And so I did the speech, and afterwards I was like, wait, maybe I didn't want to win. I have to do this fucking speech now. Like, this sucks. Like, because when you do get to where you want to be in life or doing what you want to do, whether it's, you know, writing for me, you have to do it, which is not easy. That's the hard part. And you have to do it day in and day out for as long as you live, if you decide. And so that's like the thing that for me, and I think I kind of, like I said, you know, got a glimpse at it when I was in 5th grade, just by sheer fucking luck. It was something that taught me a lot. But yeah, it's something that, you know, you're never done if you choose to, you know, take up a craft that you care about, or because it is this lifelong, you know, thing that nags at you, whether it's your pride, whether it's something that was given to you. But yeah, I guess that's kind of my thing, is I think writing, but more so teaching, more so like connecting with people, or like trying to connect with people. Not that, I don't know, I feel like I'm pretty rusty. The only people I see are my girlfriend and my coworkers these days, and like John and Alex. I feel like we actually were at like a little shindig the other day, and I was like, oh, like on, you know, a little bit of mushrooms and feeling good. So I was like, you know, very sociable. But normally I was like, wait, like, oh yeah, I like know how to talk to people.
Uh,
like, oh, I can do this. Like, this is cool. Uh, which is, I think, a big thing. A lot of people are, we're going to be at parties after this and be like, so you see
right.
any good movies?
Yeah. I know, dude.
Yeah, right. But that's a really good question. I like that a lot. That's it. What's yours?
Uh, I'm still defining it a little bit. Like, I've done a lot of, like, uh, I did a deep astrology chart reading, and I did two. There's like the Western astrology and then like the Indian one, and like both of them. And I've been asked this so many times in my life when I walk around people, especially at like places like Omega or these kind of like conscious little hubs that people hang out at. And so many times people are like, "Do you play music? Are you a singer?" And I'm not like, I'm not. I'm not a singer by any means, you know. But I
Mm-hmm.
have like fucked around with some music. Like I never would call myself a singer or by any means like that. And anything that I've done in music has gotten a way bigger response than anything else I've done. Like I think creatively, like I used to spend hours and hours like editing skate footage and like film. Like I've always been an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Like I've always wanted to make shit that people looked at and were like, wow, that's cool. That's been my get to. But like my point is now like that I've seen, like I watched the Last Dance documentary probably like 5 times through on this pandemic, and it's like Dennis Rodman's probably my favorite person in that documentary, and it's like this fool didn't even want to play basketball. Like he didn't give a fuck about playing
Yeah.
basketball. Like he just
Yeah.
like fuck, this is the bodysuit I'm in.
He's just
Like
like,
I'm probably bisexual. I'm probably ready to just hang out and have a good time. But like somehow, some way, it was just like, yo, you're really good at doing this down low, getting dirty, and just throwing it up a rebound, whatever. Like
yeah.
that's where I'm like, I don't know that like major rock stars or whatever want to be rock stars. Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like I feel like there's a lot of people that want to be that, but that
Mm-hmm.
makes you a wanna be that. Like it's not just like
Well,
it's like LeBron James. Like he didn't want to be anything. He just is the fucking goat right now. You know?
yeah. I mean, that's a thing that it's hard for people to accept, and it's hard. It's nearly impossible to be like, to be a LeBron James. Not only, you know, obviously it's hard to, be in the NBA, but like to be gifted at something and then to also be good at something and dedicated to something, like that takes so much dedication, no matter what it is, and no matter how much fun it is. It's not easy. I mean, sure, basketball, it's a sport, and it's physical, it's not, I mean, it's also mental, sure. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. That's a lot of people.
You texted me during the podcast, Peter?
Did I?
I think so.
Oh shit! I tried to text my girlfriend.
That's all good.
I saw the J and I was like,
Oh, on YouTube Live, he tried to text his girlfriend.
she called me and I just wanted to be nice. Yeah, I mean,
This like my argument would be a lot more effective if like I had just dropped this album that was like on fire on SoundCloud right now or whatever. But like a couple of my friends and I we're talking about doing another album just to see what comes of it. But
yeah,
like I'm just curious. Like there's certain things in my life, like crypto, for example, where it's like I know so much about this shit without even trying, and like I'm not smart. I consider myself a bonehead for the most
yeah,
part.
yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people have found that they have a natural gift for, investing in the markets this past year. Yeah, I've seen like a number of viral TikToks. Like I started investing, right after the pandemic, and now I have a fund of $85,000. It's like, oh my God, like, sure. Like who's lying?
I mean,
But
if
yeah,
he talks about it, like you're probably lying.
yeah, you're probably lying.
Probably LARPing. A little bit of LARP happening out there.
A little bit, a lot of LARP, a whole lot of LARP, man.
But I mean, dude, there's people that I know that have made crazy money off Dogecoin, and like,
Yeah,
dude, they didn't even know what a MetaMask wallet was, or like how to make an NFT, or any of these things from like wait, you've got $250,000 right now and you don't know how to use any of this shit? Like, what the fuck?
It's in their Robin Hood or something.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
It's like, that's not your money. That's Citadel's money, friend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So about the like, if just because we're on the art topic, and this is something that like it's funny because I've been asked this question so many times and I always hate my answer. Like I always hate what I say, but like, so no pressure. But it's like, where do you find like inspiration to write?
Oh man. Well, currently nowhere. I mean, personally, I haven't been writing as much. I kind of taken like an unspoken unspoken vow of inaction. I've just been reading a lot, and I've just been. Usually, I find it in like the outside world, you know, in other people, in small things, in daily life, and trains, and cafes, and just like talking to friends and seeing the world through their eyes. If I run into a friend on the corner for a minute, I'm like, hey, how you doing? What are you doing? Because I'm like the type of person that I don't like do real fake, relationships with people. I don't have the energy for it. So if I see you, I love you, and I'm like, hey, like, how you doing? And so that used to give me a lot of inspiration and just kind of this like energy to go, hey, I'm going to go and go out and text all my guys and see what everyone's doing. But recently, no, it has been tough. So I've been reading a lot, just trying to like, I think sharpen myself in a way, feeling like, because it really is a fickle thing, writing both personally and professionally. It's like this. It's like, I don't know. It's hard to say because I do write for work every day. I'm writing every single day. It may not be. I mean, I make them things that I enjoy and things that I'm proud of course. But they may not be, my passion per se. If I were to sit down and try to write a short story or a poem or a novel or something like that, would be that's where my my inner compass is pointing me, which is an odd thing that I maybe I don't reflect on actually. I don't think I've been asked this question about like, and even had to think about it, about maybe why I haven't been writing, or think it's not even a question about writing. It's a question about where do I find my inspiration. I do. I try to find it in people. Yeah. And mostly people and experiences. Obviously books, and obviously, other forms of media, articles and memes and songs. And yeah, that really is a tough question. Inspiration is, because I think all of my best writing I've done are things that I never like, were inspired to write. I just wrote them. It's not like I was aware of them. They just like, kind of like come out of you.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, I didn't fuck. Like I guess my inspiration then was letting myself write. I was saying, hey, just actually do it. And like something will happen, which is a hard thing to trust, to happen. To say, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to trust myself to have something to say, from somewhere. Yeah, fuck. Damn, no, that's a great question. That's a really good question. Yeah, all the best things I've ever written have come from places that I can't tell you where they came from. They weren't thoughts that I thought were mine. Yeah.
It's like this. It's like fleeting. Inspiration is
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you were doing it and you're like, how the fuck did I start doing like, like
Yeah.
how did I even start doing that,
How did I start? Yeah. How did I? It's
Like,
like you wake up and you're just like in there, and like you have like no memory before or after. You're just like playing that song. It's like doing a skate trick, right? Like you're like, okay, fuck, like here I go. But before you know it, you're doing the grind, and then you're off the rail, and you're like, oh, whoa, like I'm over here and I was over there.
Yeah.
You're maybe like you blink and you just happen to, your body takes control.
So like Claude Monet has this one quote that I always liked where somebody was like, oh, I saw you relaxing today, or I saw you painting today. I guess you were relaxing." And he was like, "Oh, no, no, no. No, I'm sorry. I've already butchered it."
No, say it.
Okay. So somebody sees Claude Monet sitting in his garden, just chilling in a chair, and he's like, the assistant or whatever is like, "Oh, I saw you relaxing in the garden today," and he was like, "Oh, no, no, I was working." And then they were like, "Oh, hey, the same assistant, I saw you painting in your studio today. You were working," and he was like, "Oh, no, 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 I was relaxing." So like, I almost wonder, because I'm in a phase right now where it's like I'm not painting very much, and the little bit that I do is just kind of like just random, just real rough stuff, kind of sketching. Whereas like just a few months ago, I was in the studio every day, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, sometimes painting.
Mhm.
So it's like right now I feel like I'm in this like collection phase where I'm like, okay, I'm kind of bored of like replicating these paintings over and over. I need to like get this new inspiration. I want to challenge myself to learn this new technique, or like, I don't know, like, do you feel like that happens with writing? I mean, I know you work professionally with writing, but at least for me, it's like there's shit that's like, okay, part of this is the thrift store thing, part of this is like that half a mushroom cap on this hike I took, and plus this and this and this, and my friend came over, and it's like all these things I think are actually what inspires me now. Is like, what, it's not just like, oh, psychedelics inspire me or my girlfriend.
Mhm.
It's like this combination of like life.
Yeah, no, it's everything that I learned, have learned along the way and read. It's not just the first book or one book, but all of them. You know,
Do you have any favorite writers?
that's a tough question. I recently read Haruki Murakami for the first time, Japanese writer. I read Kafka on the Shore. It's a magical realism, is what they call it. Highly recommend. Yeah, beautiful writer. Yeah, beautiful. Um, I love I love all sorts of stuff. I really like uh, um, Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. That is, a lot of people have this like belief that it's a very daunting book and it's like very big and Russian and hard to get through. But I find that's a really fun read, and like he's a writer who doesn't like hang on words. He just kind of says it, and you just kind of get taken on that journey. Uh, Anise Nin was one of my favorite writers when I was in college. She was like she had an affair with Henry Miller, who was a American expatriate who lived in France, and she wrote these volumes of diaries that I was told about from my godfather. And so I picked one up, and they're just like these sex stories and stories about her father, and stories about being a woman and being married, but like having an affair with this writer, and just kind of being like a yeah, I'm like a pre-feminist kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna be a slut, and like you can go fuck yourself kind of thing, of like, I don't care what you give, fuck you. Which like that mentality that I don't know, I find interesting in writing, or did, when I was 22 years old and trying to look for people who were, snubbing their nose at the world. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I love all books. Yeah.
Do you see yourself like taking it into more of a novel like style, or doing some sort of like screenplay writing, or where do you see yourself going from here with it?
I think practically a short story form is probably something that once I start picking up, really getting serious about writing again, I'll sit down and write some short stories. I think my goal would to be a novelist, would to be to write a novel, would be like the top of my Maslow hierarchy, tower of needs. My self-actualization is a
Yeah.
novel by Peter Rapine, that I can write and people can go, wow, this guy is really awesome. Like he's smart, he's sexy, he's funny, right? Like, and here's all of our money. And then I don't have to work again. Like that would be that would be my 10X. Yeah.
Dude, I'll be buying it. I'll be
Yeah.
signing up for the book signing too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, of course, man. But yeah, it's a fickle thing. One day I tell myself, I hopefully have a long life, so I'll get around to it.
Hope so, man.
I don't feel this rush. I don't know. I took a year and I wrote a book, so it's not. It's really not an easy thing to do by yourself, and not something you want to do for free. Uh, you want someone to pay you to do that, and you want someone to say, "Hey, I'm done. Here, edit it for me." Yeah, doing it on your own is, yeah, maybe one. I don't know. It's not like you can like just cut a movie and like post a movie on, the internet and put it on Vimeo, and someone goes, "Wow, this is like really cool. Let's give you a job." I mean, maybe you can, write a blog or publish short stories, but it's very rare that someone writes a novel on their own and that novel as a whole is like really popular. One instance, actually, that movie with Matt Damon, or I think it's Matt Damon, and he's like on Mars,
Oh, The Martian?
The Martian.
Yeah.
That was published by a guy in Livermore, actually, one chapter at a time online, just like by himself. And eventually it was really good, and it really blew up and got put into a book, and then got made into a movie. So it can happen, but it's like very rare. It's hard. Yeah. And even he probably didn't do it himself, or not all along, I wouldn't say.
Yeah, we have parties at our house, which basically involves like having one guest over and then the three roommates here. But one of our friends, Ellen, she wrote a self-published novel, and like the same thing. Took about a year to write it, produced it, and then now I'm like, so what are you doing now? She's like, I'm just waiting to hear back from all the publishing houses. Like, maybe somebody will pick it up. I'm like, I don't know. How dissatisfying is that? Just now you're supposed to wait for another year, maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
Somebody says it's, I don't know.
No, it's so lonely and soul crushing to like pour that much work into something. I mean, if you really enjoy it, it also like it does feel good, and there's like a personal reward that you can get out of it, whether it's published or not, I'm sure. But yeah, it's like, what do you like send it to all your friends? You're like, hey guys, please read this. Like you're the only ones that are going to. Yeah.
I know. I mean, there's something about artists that will literally push themselves to the ultimate end limit to get that work done, which I think is really admirable. But at times, it's like you look at somebody else's craft, and it's like, well, fuck, I don't want to be writing novels. Like, hell no, don't put that on my plate. Or I don't know. There's probably other people like, I don't want to paint a mural. Fuck, that looks like a sore back and like dirty hands and shit. Fuck that shit.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, it's tough, right? Talking what you said about wanting to be Jerry or Ice, me wanting to be, baseball player. It's like, even wanting to be a writer, whatever. It's so many people, have these ideas of the world and their life, and we are and we aren't so many things, and we are and are everything and nothing in some kind of weird way. It's like, whatever you want to give that value has the value, and that can be a really kind of grounding thing, but also can be a very terrifying thing, because then say, well, the value is up to me to maintain. It's up to me to to say, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to the trope of Christ picking up his cross every day and sacrificing himself for your sins. It's to say of like this, every day you must like atone for who you are, or like make amends with like who you are, to say like, I am me, and remind yourself that you are that person. Because it's hard to do that. It's hard to say, hey, I've gotten this thing and I've wanted this thing for so long, and now I'm here. Well, now I have to be that. Now I have to sit here every day and go, yes, I'm this, and constantly make sure that you're not something else. Because if you are something else, then you're not that thing that you set out to be. And I don't know, we have these like fantasy fairy tale versions of ourselves where we all want to be celebrities and we all want to be rich and famous and we want everything and, the best, most perfect thing. And not to say that we aren't those things, because, I mean, we're very much, aspects of that. But those things aren't like, ultimately what's going to, solidify you in your own life, because you can have those things and you can still, lack and be nothing. They can mean nothing to you if you one day wake up and go, oh, well, I want this, right? You look out beyond the horizon and throw away everything you've ever desired. And that, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like maybe we all personally are aware that we could be anything if we decided to be, because we have decided to be something that, like, we're kind of afraid of what actually happens when we are that thing. Of saying, like, oh, I'm going to put in that work because then I'm going to reap the, benefits of my, hard work, which, oh, woe is me, now I'm going to have to, be successful or happy. Like, being happy is kind of a hard thing to do. It's like to let yourself say, like, I'm gonna, do the thing that's the right thing for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Life's a catch, man. And we're entering this, like, everyone has, we're all like walking around with our own VR goggles on now, in our own VR world, where we're like, the worlds are slightly different. And even in, like, pre-times, when, pre-internet, when you had to, like, meet somebody somewhere or call somebody at, like, a specific time, and you had to be in the place where you called them. It's like there was, like, a call place, like, you can get called anywhere now. Yeah. Calling, like, the places that are available for calling are just all cell phone. Okay, cool. But, like, you had to be at home to, like, do the call.
Yeah.
Which is, like, meant a lot, like, forcing yourself to be somewhere. It's just, like, even in those times, like, our communication, was only ever so perfect. Like, your ideas and my ideas, however similar or dissimilar they might be, you're never really going to see blue the way I see blue. You're not going to understand this thing the way that I understand it. You might get it more or less the same, and it'll be enough. I'll be able to say, hey, let's, build this treehouse, and we'll build it. But the way that you're envisioning it and the way I'm envisioning it are different. And I'm going to have to assert my vision on your vision to say, this is what I'm looking for. Because if I just let you do it, we're going to build something incongruent together. So even in the best of times, we're not working in this, like, truly open communication field. And so now in this world of VR, where we're, like, interpersonally kind of messing with our own beliefs constantly in association with everyone else's, that communication is, like, it's getting so much harder, even for people who believe the same things and understand the same things, because there's so much more that I'm not telling you about what I'm thinking and why I'm thinking it, and all the things that I've seen that are influencing why I'm saying what I'm saying, that maybe on the surface I'm not like, oh, well, it's this opinion I have is based off of 10 memes I saw, 4 articles I read, a video I've watched, my personal experience, and the thing that my friend said to me. Like, that's a lot of information for me to compile into a simple thought to go, hey, Jesse, actually, no, this is, information to help you. And this is why you need to put your money on the blockchain. To be able to get to someone and say, cut through all the things they already think they know about you and the information and what they're doing. It's like, it's up to them. I mean, that's why it's like, I'm always bringing it back to this, because I think it's really the only conversation that is like a progressive conversation in, like, the world of, like, philosophy and technology, is like the new liminal space of finance. Like, personally, I think it sucks. I hate money. And I think, like, money is the root of all evil. So, like, instead of getting rid of money, we've made money better, which is, like, kind of shitty. It's like, make money worse. Like, I don't want money to be better. I want it to be worse. Like, personally, like, this sucks. Like, it's money, but it's cool money. Right. It's like, building that understanding, and it's hard. I mean, in this day and age, it's only going to get harder and harder and harder, even among people who will share, the same beliefs, the same opinions. We're heading for, like, a, open world kind of simulator game where, you can choose to live in whatever world you want. If you want to live in the world that's peaceful, you can. If you want to live in the world that's not, like, go ahead. Like, it's, yeah.
Hi, Bubby.
Hey, kitty.
I'm on with my sister.
Well, I'm on a podcast, so.
You have a podcast?
She's on the phone. Sorry.
Good, man.
Yeah, I don't know. That's my fear. That when I think about like the future and that kind of shit. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think the future. That's funny, dude, because like the guy that I had met, a roommate of mine, this dude Mike Wu. Shout out to Mike Wu. God bless him. But he was a Penn State math major dropout, which that had my attention. Like he got all the way to senior year, and then he quit math because he was like similar. Like he hated where he was, what kind of jobs he was going to be landing himself after that, and so we were roommates at this retreat center, and I was starting to get him interested in Bitcoin and talking about it. I'm like, this, you could be my quantitative. Yeah, you could be like, we could work together, and he was just like, yeah, but like, I just hate money. And I'm just like, I know, you're perfect. Like, I hate money too. But, it kind of fell through, and it's interesting because it's like, I don't know that I like love it per se, but it's like I definitely spend time on researching it and then trying to understand of like, trying to understand the wealth discrepancy and then like what kind of advantages people at the very top seem to have, because it's like I've met some people that you have too, like where we grew up, kids in Ruby Hill and stuff. It's like those kids with like those just trust funds and stuff, like they're not the smartest kids. Like, hell no. I know they're not. Like, but so what kind of basic knowledge do they have that most people don't? And then starting to break.
Oh, none. No. Yeah.
Yeah, starting to break that all down, it's just like, oh, okay, there's a lot to finances that they just straight up do not teach you in school on purpose to make sure that we all make mistakes and get locked into these weird bank accounts and saving situations. But
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. There's people, yeah, what you've said about like not getting taught in school, right? Like, I don't think they always taught like financial literacy in like 20, you go back 100 years, whatever. It's something that people individually have lost, which is a fascinating product of the world that we live in, which is you personally need less knowledge about the world to get by in the world. If you live in a place like America, you can have a bank account and you can have access to things, services that provide and make your life better. But to like know how to invest and to know how to do the things that actually enrich your life are not the things that so many people, I mean, I'm 30, you're 30 something. We get to this point in our life and we're like, well, fuck, we need to realize and learn these things. And luckily, or some of us, maybe we have parents that can teach us how to like be financially, responsible, like, or like how to do your taxes, right? Like, it's a common thing that, a lot of people say, like, we were not taught these things. And it's like, I'm not sure if they were ever really taught. But there was this like, sense of like luck and like that inheritance, obviously, of like, if you were so lucky to be born into a family that like could allow to like save money to begin with, like not talking about like having millions of dollars or like but like save money, like $50 a month, like that, you are in a lucky group of people, because like so many, I mean, we're not even talking globally, but like in America, like, so many millions of people just don't have savings. They're in debt and like they're living like on that edge. And so like part of it you could say is like, we like to think of like a conspiracy. It's like they don't, they don't teach us these things. I don't know why I'm getting hung up on that. I think that's I've always thought that phrase is so fascinating to me. But it's like how do I say it? We have put the ownership for so long on these like private institutions and companies And like, we don't balance our checkbooks anymore, for example. It's like we let Wells Fargo, or Bank of America do that. If you have a bank account, you're not the one looking at it, like making sure that, your zeros are lined up and that all the money going in and out is correct. You're trusting the account every time you log in to go, oh yeah, okay, I have this amount of money, right? Like, are you counting your zeros in your account every time you're doing it? I mean, maybe you are, but we for so long, of course of 20, 30 years, in so many different ways, like it, you kind of skirt the ownership of something off onto somebody else. It's like, if you live in New York, in Brooklyn, you don't even have to own a bike anymore. You could rent a bike from the corner. They have these like, city bikes, and a lot of people do them. It's convenient, which is funny because it's like part of it's convenience, part of it's fun, and it's maybe a good bike that you don't have to maintain. But you have put your ownership of owning a bike onto somebody else while taking the rewards of having a bike. And it's like, it's a metaphor, like we've done it in all aspects of our lives. And it's not us who've done it, it's been happening for, quite some time. Which is interesting to think about, like, because we could say like, we're totally unprepared to like live in a modern world. And it's like, yeah, like a lot of people are in a way that, there aren't these avenues for like, what are millions of, unemployed people supposed to do? Are you just supposed to go and create your own job, start a business? Like, should you be doing these things? Like, is it in the betterment of society to become an artist, or like to become, a scientist? I don't know. It's, what is the betterment, right? What is the purpose? I guess it's like, I'm not sure what I'm saying. I'm just kind of rambling.
I know. I mean, I think there's this global awakening to the fact that a lot of people at the top have promoted this message of like, hey, there's not enough for you to be here. And the fact is, there's plenty. There's plenty for me. There's plenty for people in Africa. There's plenty for people in India. There's plenty of resources for humans to get along fine. We got to maybe like rebalance that somehow, and like that's going to take a lot of trust between people, but I think they lied when they said that there's not enough.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's more than enough.
Certainly.
We just have to, reevaluate, what enough means. Enough for, you ask, people from 50 different countries, what is enough? They're going to give you 50 different answers, maybe, 20 different answers. And in America, it's going to be up here, and then somewhere else it's going to be down here. They're going to say, I'm fine living on this, but no, here I have to have 2 cars. I have to have all this stuff, right? It's enough for them, it's not enough for Americans. Which, I mean, the world is the way it is, right? There's not like what do? You can't just like.
But the flip side is that
not,
I bet you get some billionaire person here in America who's like, dude, I've partied in Vegas. I've done all the things. I've vacationed where I wanted to vacation. And it's like, that's too much. I want some farm life now. Like, people are going to want what they want. Not everybody wants the Lambo,
Well, I mean, the point is it's not just the Lambo. It's the, the access to taking vacations and flying on airplanes. And it might seem like a simple thing, like, oh, I'm going to go on a trip for a weekend to like somewhere and go to the beach, like millions of Americans do, right? You live in Buffalo and you want to go to Miami because it's wintertime, you can go for a couple of days, but the environmental impact of a decision like that is like not weighted fairly. That like the amount of gas and fuel you're going to burn in that airplane, right? Like, to put it into pound for pound, that could power, or pollute something else for like much more people in a much more, sustainable way. So like our entire lives, from, the moment we wake up to all the dreams we have and the things we're planning, are, they're not like fair and balanced as far as, being sustainable or fair, which, I mean, obviously it's like, we are the bad the bad guys. It's like, yeah, how do you cope with that? How do you cope with the fact that, like, the only bubble that really matters are the methane bubbles that are gonna boil the oceans, and then we're all gonna die. Like, sick. I guess I'll, you know. I mean, maybe I will buy those new Levi jeans. Fuck it, right? Well, there is this mentality of, I mean, when I was in college, I took a writing class that was maybe the second most influential writing class I'd ever taken, beyond that fifth grade one. Where as an adult, I realized, it was like, oh, I actually am good at this, and could do this professionally, or would like to. And it was actually an environmental rhetoric class. So it was about just like the way that we talk about the environment, and decoding the language behind environmental ads and communication, which is actually really fascinating, because there's so much coded environmental language that says one thing but is used to purposely frame a picture in your mind. And as you kind of alluded to it earlier, is we like to think about the environment and wilderness and nature as these other things. Nature is out there, right? These trees, these mountains, these forests, these plains. Me, I live in the city. This is the modern world. This isn't nature. Or like, none of the things that are in your phone like come out of some nice black box that like you reach your hand into from some other dimension. These are all things that we found on this planet that like we just did this and that, and like maybe we added a couple things and made something new. Like, fuck it. It's like this language of like unnatural or like man-made. It's like, is that not nature? Is that not of nature now? I mean, to some degree. And so you get, pretty philosophical with it, but as far as, what it means, or at least learning, how fucked, the projections for, the next 50, 60 years are. I mean, like, the people that study climate science have been sounding the alarms for like over 11 years, 10 years, 20 years. And they themselves, I remember reading an article a number of years ago, they just have like given up. They're like, we don't know what to do anymore. Like, some of them are like quitting their jobs and like stepping back from, roles of, public outcry and service, because, no one does anything.
Yeah.
Because what are you going to say? You're going to tell the people that eat meat to not eat meat, and say, don't fly on airplanes, don't go and buy that other house, or, hey, let's, redistribute the wealth. Like, do people actually think, like, I don't know. It's, I mean, yeah, it'd be nice if like, those people with the access to power and the power, like, did something that like benefited everyone else, but no one has hope that they're going to do that.
Right.
Like, even the people that you think are on your side, you would say, like, go and ask anyone, who voted, Democrat. They did it out of, self-preservation. They didn't do it because, Joe Biden is, this example, to be strived towards for so many millions of people in this country. It's like, yeah. So we live it. Yeah. It is what it is, I guess. Sucks.
Well, hey, now let's not like such a dark tone.
I know. I'm sorry.
I've got a lot of optimism. I mean, like
Yeah.
there's definitely something going down with the pandemic. Like I think it was like the 2020, was it 2012? Remember, that was like the end of the Mayan calendar, and like the world was supposed to end, and like there's going to be this new age of Aquarius after that. Like, as disappointing as the 2012 whatever date that was, like, this 2020 into 2021 started to feel like, oh, if there was any shift in our lifetime happening, it's going to be now. And I don't know, like, I just really think that like we lost the fight on privacy, at least online, with all these digital devices. I mean, at least I lost mine. So I'm willing to just say, like, I'll be 100% transparent everywhere I go with everybody that I'm at. And, like, somebody's sometimes probably not going to like me for that. But other times it's like, there's literally not going to be a single way that they can say, hey, you're doing something out of line. Because I'm like, hey, if I know I'm monitored, I'm going to be polite. I'm going to tip well. I'm going to say thank you. I'm going to hold the door for the next person. And I think most people do that when they're aware that there's like, basically like a scanner darkly being like, hey, look, like we can always run back the footage literally like off this, off your
Hmm.
laptop, off any place has a security camera now. Like every car basically has a little, all the new cars have like, Teslas have cams in the cars. So it's,
Hmm.
you're going to be monitored everywhere you go. We lost that battle, but like if I'm going to be monitored everywhere I go, I'm going to be at least the most decent, kind person I can be, and that's like my only hope for optimism in moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think kindness is going to be here until the very end, right? That's like it's like a little flower breaking through the concrete, right? To be hokey, uh,
Yeah.
it's just like the evolution. It's like the world moves with kindness. I think we're proof of that, right? We get to exist. Uh, but yeah, it's I don't know. That is something I think I've struggled with. The darkness, the feeling, this like hopelessness, and not even in a coronavirus setting, but just for years, man, what does the future hold? What does and maybe mine being less worse than so many other people, but yeah, yeah, it's out there, and I think we still probably can react to it in a positive way, but mitigating it or stopping it, I think we have to be real and talk about a useful plan of action now. We're not going to mitigate and stop climate change. The best we can do is try to move somewhere and get people together and preparing for what it might look like in 50, 60 years. Yeah, there's like data out there. Not I could send you in a place called ProPublica. They do some really great reporting. It's a place I think everyone who will see this will probably appreciate.
ProPublica.com.
ProPublica.com. They have a really great series on climate change. They do a lot of great stuff, social justice, labor, technology, everything. But they have this like climate projection for what the U.S. will look like in 2070 and where habitats will be, where crops will grow, like all sorts of metrics. And you can even plug in your area code and it will give you like a chart of like how it will change on like these 6 metrics. Like it'll be hotter or more temperate, or like it might improve because more people want to live there because it's one of the better, more habitable places in the country.
Wow.
One snippet from it is it says that Albany, New York in 2070 will have the climate that Tempe, Arizona has now.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
2070.
Wow. Albany is cold as fuck in the winter.
Yeah. It's going to become Arizona.
Whoa. That's 2070 is not that far away, dude. Wow.
Yeah. That's what they say. I mean, we hope they're wrong, right? I hope they're fucking wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, wow. That's crazy, man.
I know.
Well, the last thing I wanted to leave with is like, I hope you don't confuse your impending doom as an individual to like the collectives, because it's like there's definitely both ticking timelines, but for most walking people, you don't see the whole collective collapse in your lifetime. But like we all are
I hope not.
brave every day, right? Like
Yeah.
you like kind of have to have this confidence, like, well, I'm just one day closer to the end, or at least of this version of yourself.
Well, sure. Yeah, we have our own mortal timelines, right? I mean, which maybe with science, we might be able to prolong. Maybe in 10 years, I'll get a nice DNA upgrade.
Right.
You know, maybe this RNA, you know, shot I got in my body is just the first thing. Because honestly, some of the data is they might be able to like cure HIV with it. They're going to be running tests using this data, this new vaccine to possibly cure AIDS, so or HIV, which is incredible. So who knows? Maybe in 10 years, 20 years, people will actually do something about climate change because you know, our lifespans will be 200 years long, and we'll be like, "Fuck, like we fucked up. We're not dying, so now we need to, you know."
I'm just still like, how did Magic Johnson not die from AIDS? Like,
money.
oh, okay, it's like they already found the cure.
Yeah, it's just a lot of money. Yeah, a lot of money.
No, I like honestly, I hope the amount of
yeah.
data collection will come to, you know, come to fruit some sort of,
Yeah,
you know, realistic cures for some of these things that have been ailing the human race for so long, you know.
I'm sure. Because I mean, all this we didn't even talk about like supercomputers, which is like one of the coolest technologies out right now.
Ooh.
That's they use them to like do like all sorts of stuff, financial stuff, security stuff, you know. But they
Like
also
quantum computing?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So they use them to I think they use them to like help create potential proteins or like molecules in genes. So they say like we don't know what this gene would look like or this molecule or this protein. How can we simulate it in a computer to give us a understanding of what it might look like? So if we can know what it looks like, then we can recreate it or something. And they've actually had like some success. It's like really crazy shit. Yeah. But no, I do. I'm not correlating, you know, my own impending doom with, you know, the rest of the world. I don't see doom in either anytime soon. It's just, you know, for those that come after.
No, yeah, no, I wasn't
Yeah.
stressing just specifically you, but I mean, I've been there where I'm like, I feel like I'm dying and the world's dying, and maybe I should just die with it. But you know, I don't know. There's levels to this depression shit. There's levels to this shit, son.
There's levels. I know. Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. I think people are gonna. Yeah, I mean, me, you know, personally, I'll walk back into the world. Maybe, hopefully, a slightly better version of myself. Maybe one who's a little more patient with others, and hopefully more patient with myself too. Going forward, yeah. Once we do get back. Not that we're gone. I mean, we've been here the whole time, you know. We ain't going nowhere.
Yeah. I know. It's like honestly, I'm like you're like a probably a year and a half older than the last time I seen you, and dude, I mean, you're still the same underneath it all, which I think is a good thing. I never thought you were a bad dude.
Uh,
Pocket.
Appreciate it, Jesse. Yeah, you too, man.
Yo, you want to do anything else on this thing before we tie this up, or what's going on?
No, I don't know. What is going on?
This
Nothing.
is like, you got real political on this one. This is
Yeah,
like,
we got into it. I mean, you can't ask me questions, man. I'm just gonna like, you know,
this was
you
like
gotta know better.
Yeah, Battleship was back and forth.
Yeah. This is I haven't been able to like, you know, chew people's ears off at bars in a year, so I've really been like, this is what it is. I mean, because I'm that guy, you know, I go to a party and like I have to pull myself away from the people who are like talking because I'm always like, oh no, here we go, like, you know, I just dive right in.
Yeah.
So this is like a little self-masturbatory maybe.
Well, shoot. I hope I can
yeah.
come and kick it with you in a bar this summer down in Brooklyn. I know I missed the whole crew, especially obviously you, but the whole crew in general down there is epic. So
yeah, bro. We started golfing, so
dude,
come out. We'll hit the links.
I can come be really bad at that around you guys as well.
Yeah, no, we're not good.
What? There's a golf range in Brooklyn?
Yeah, there's one in Queens. It's like a pitch and putt, so it's like a short mini kind of course. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's some shit right there.
Yeah, very New York. It's a very New York thing. You would not find this in California. They have too much space.
Right.
They would say,
fairgrounds. We used to play
Golf.
the fairgrounds.
But the fairgrounds has like that's like a 9-hole. That's like an executive course. This is like mini golf on steroids.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm down with it. I'm down.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Hey man, thank you so much for doing this and showing up on time.
Yeah, of course, bro.
Shit.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, man. Yep, I'll hit you up with the episode once it's online.
Cool.
Peace and love, everybody. We
All
love.
right. Adios.